Hello, travel biz owner. Welcome to my corner of the travel industry, the Strategic Travel Entrepreneur Podcast. If you're ready to have fun, be inspired, get clarity, and take action in your travel business, then you're in the right place. Let's jump in. Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Strategic Travel Entrepreneur Podcast. My name is Rita M. Perez. I am your host, and I am currently, I'm going to say, maybe in bed. Hopefully not still recovering from jet lag, but I still might be. If you've been missing out, I just attended the third annual TMP on the River, Travel Marketplace on the River with Travel Marketplace Report and Travel Market Report, and AML Waterways. And I was teaching marketing classes on board. We had a really action-packed session as well. Also got lots of really great content while we were there. I'm talking about this in the past and I haven't been there yet because I wanted to pre-record this because I just did not think I would have the energy for you. So I'm assuming everything went well. I'm putting the good juju. Everything normally goes well, but if you want to follow me over on Instagram, I probably have more insights for you over there on how everything went. But thank you so much for being here. Also, thank you everybody who has partaken in the BOGO marketing offer that I had recently. I believe it's closed by now. At least it should be closed. So just want to give a huge shout out. Thank you to everybody who was able to assist with that. I'm really excited for today's topic. Some of you may have heard this because I do have a little webinar about this topic about maintenance areas. So honestly, this might be part of like the boring things that you need to know in your business, but they're also really important things that you need to know for your business. I feel like there's 3 different maintenance areas in your business. And like I break it down kind of like there's foundational maintenance, operational maintenance, and marketing maintenance. And now I say maintenance, and what I think about is like if I'm going to be hiring somebody for the maintenance of my house, like a plumber or an HVAC person or an electrician. And it's kind of sort of like that. Like some things you might hire out, most things you might not hire out. So let's get into the topic because there are a couple of different things to talk about when it comes to the maintenance of your business. I was going to say building, which I guess you are building a travel business. I feel like these maintenance items are the ones that make the difference between like you just being a travel advisor as a job, and that's you're an employee. And then also you being a travel advisor, but owning a travel agency business. So travel advisor employee, you're just clocking in and out doing the job. Whereas like if you are the business owner, you have to be on top of all the different things. So specifically when it comes to like government regulation, the marketing of your business, making sure that sales are coming in, that your finances are in order, where just a travel advisor who had that as a job clocking in and out like a W-2 employee doesn't really have to worry about. So, and for my Australian friends, because I know I have some Australians listening, W-2 is just a tax recognition for people who are employees, whereas 1099 is the tax recognition for independent contractors. So if I use some of those terms, that's what those means. But let me know if there's any other terms that I kind of missed as we're kind of describing all this stuff. So foundational, what like the 5 major areas. So like I mentioned, there's 3 big areas: foundational, operational, and then you have like your marketing areas. I believe like there's subtopics between there. So we're going to go over the subtopics and then we're going to go over like the major differences and then we're going to go into the nitty-gritty. So in foundational, like the 5 main subtopics that I see that I find are like legal and compliance, risk management. That means like for me, that means a lot like insurance, but also having waivers and things. But that also kind of goes into legal. So you can kind of see how everything kind of weaves in and out of each other. Financials is part of this foundational maintenance. And then also admin. I would also put business continuity. So we'll dive into a little bit more of what exactly that means. So when I'm thinking about legal and compliance, this means like on an annual basis, you should be reviewing your terms and conditions. You might not need to do anything past reviewing those terms and conditions. Maybe if like your niche ends up being a little bit different, you might have to get those updated and have like certain waivers and things included in your terms and conditions. But for the most part, what I mean when I say reviewing, just making sure everything's accurate. Like, did you change your name? Did you change your location? Did you change where you're based out of? Did you change like the clients that you serve? Just making sure that anything, terms and conditions and agreements and all that is accurate to how you're operating business either this year or needing to make changes for next year. I would also add into here the seller of travel license. Now, not all of you are going to have to worry about that. The major states are Florida and California. I want to say like Washington and Hawaii also have some seller of travel laws. There were more states, and I feel like over the past couple of years, it's been less and less. The biggest two states are definitely Florida and California, where you have to file like a seller of travel license. If you are hosted, your rate does drop a little bit. And I think that also depends on the state, because I'm just going by what I know from Florida. Seller of travel license, but you've got to pay that every single year. So that's a bit of your business maintenance. Check that off. If you are an LLC, like if you have that or a different business structure, you are probably going to need to renew that also every year. Whoever set up your business structure, I would definitely go to like those professionals. So that's probably like a legal professional or a finance, like tax professional. Whoever set this up, go to them, get some clarity from them for yourself. I know I'm in Florida. I have to renew my LLC every year by May 1st, or else you pay a really big hefty fine. So we try to avoid that. I'm not sure what it's like if you're doing like an S corp or if you're a corporation. So again, you're going to have to go to the right places to figure that out, but that's something that has to be done every single year. Then kind of as we're trickling down here, your local government may also have certain renewals. So I know where I'm at in Central Florida, because I'm outside of said city limits in Orlando, I don't have to, like, I think it's just county. I don't have to file like with the city. It's called a business tax receipt. So that also has to be kept up every single year. And yes, all of these things I'm looking at do cost some sort of fee. Like seller of travel license, I believe is like $50 every year for the renewal. LLC, I think is $138.75. Business tax receipt, I think is like 38-ish, depending. So yeah, and those are also going to depend like when you file. Sometimes if you file a little bit earlier, you can get a little bit of a discount. If you don't follow on time, there's definitely penalties for that. So however you set up your business structure, just look back on all of those things to make sure that they are accurate for you. I would also say updating and reviewing your website terms of use is very important. Your GDPR policy, that's something that happens in Europe. But if you have any Europeans who are on your website or who would ever look at your website, you need to make sure that that is in place. And then your privacy policies, which I know like I use Tom Carpenter, and I know many of you have. Normally when he does terms and conditions, or his team does, they give you kind of like a set of terms and conditions that also includes like this privacy policy. So if you need any updates to that kind of stuff, and I think about like if you change your email service provider, that may be something that you want his team to be aware of, to know like if any updates need to be made to your privacy policy or your website terms of use. I would also say here in the legal and compliance area, you have to review anything that has to do with like client dispute resolution processes. So I'm thinking about like chargebacks and things like that. Making sure that you have certain language in place to assist is going to help out, and just reviewing that, because there are things that happen on an annual basis that you might change about your business, and just thinking about like the legalities of that changing and reviewing that, because you might not have to make any changes. Sometimes you might have to make some changes, and this is why I feel like it's very important to work with a professional on this, because you don't have to keep updated on certain changes. It's going to be easy to check in with somebody to review some of those. Risk management. I know we're talking a lot about all the unsexy sides of business ownership, but they are so important as well. So when it comes to risk management, this is always like, I always think about insurance, and especially E&O business insurance. So errors and omissions, making sure that you have a policy there, reviewing your terms. Maybe you have to add things, maybe you have to reduce things, cybersecurity policy, just general business liability policy, just reviewing the insurance that you have and making sure that it matches up again with how you're operating now. I would also say like reviewing your business policies, and like maybe the clientele that you take, or like how you operate your business might have to be reviewed. I do talk about SOPs in the operational area, but I feel like that kind of goes with that. So reviewing any business policies, especially when it comes to risk. I also feel like this is the section where like you would be updating any passwords or security settings, making sure you have like any two-factor authentication, just reviewing those. Like, do you need to update those on a yearly basis, on a quarterly basis? Have you never updated those? I know some of the technologies that we use kind of do that automatically. So just making sure that that is on your radar as well. Financials. Now we get a little bit sexier talking about the money, but reviewing your sales goals and taking into consideration all of your expenses when you're figuring out these sales goals. I would also take into consideration like reviewing any potential or dream investments that you would like to make. Because it's just important. I would say if you're not doing this already on an annual basis, you should definitely be doing this on a quarterly basis, just to see where you are with your goals and then make adjustments from there too. Auditing your sales compared to this goal and reviewing profitability trends. So I know a lot of you might be super busy right now. A lot of you might not be super busy right now. So being able to just look at how things are going in your business and then adapting for those, because you might know that quarter one is always a slow month for you, but you know it always picks up in Q2 and Q3, so maybe you might not be as worried, and you also know that like more of your profits and more of your commissions get paid out then too. So it's really good to see like where the trends are. We are deep in the thick of it. It is filing tax time. So making sure that you are working with your tax person on filing your taxes, anything that has to do with this, possibly filing an extension, just making sure that everything, all your financials are kept up to date. Payroll is another big thing to think about over here, reviewing payroll if you have that. And then also can't talk about finances without also talking about like savings and making sure you have an emergency savings of at least like 3 to 6 months of your expenses. God forbid if anything were to happen, especially in crazy times that we are experiencing yet again with world dealings, just making sure that you are covered and you and your business are able to stay healthy. On the admin side of foundational maintenance, I feel like this might be a little bit more fun. Clearing out your inbox, including unsubscribing from lists that no longer serve you. I know I have recently been subscribing to a lot of lists that have to do like just things that I need to buy, and you want to get that coupon, but then they send you like freaking 5 emails a day. And I'm like, no. Stop that. So things like that, unsubscribing to lists that no longer serve you, and then just clearing out your inbox, because there's a lot of people who will also, they shouldn't be, but they do add you to their email list without you knowing. So you might be getting lots of added stuff. This could also be like you starting to organize your email inbox just a little bit better. I know that Mary Beth Lynn has her inbox zero challenge. So if you're wanting to make this an easier process and maybe like more of a routine process, I would highly recommend that you guys check that out. Clearing out your office. If I was to go to your office or your workspace right now, what does it look like? And I can't even call you out because I also need to do a little cleanup here in my office. So, TBD. I would also take a look at like digitally archiving any old contracts that you might have, emails, client files, just to help stay organized. I'm not sure the exact like how long you should have things for, so make sure you're talking to a professional who knows like how long you should keep things for. But if I feel like if something's like at least 10 years old, it's probably a safe bet. Again, I'm not the expert on that, so just check. But if you are like keeping things, like you are a pack rat keeping files forever and ever, might want to reevaluate that because you might not need to keep all of those things on file. And then last but not least, when it comes to financial foundational maintenance is business continuity, the continuity of your business, like how your business is going to survive in the future. So in here, I feel like you should definitely be reviewing your products and services mix. Are they serving you? Are they working for you? I actually just had a consulting session earlier today where we were kind of talking about this, where you might not want to sell certain products anymore. You thought you wanted to sell a certain type of clientele and they become really PETA clients. So now you have to reverse course. So being able to review that on an annual basis, I think would serve you so much and hopefully give you a lot less headaches if you're doing the work that you really, truly love to do. I feel like in business continuity, this also means like who is taking over for you when you're out of office and you have clients traveling or you have clients interested in travel. Like, what is that process? What does it look like? And making sure that you have one in place. Planning for retirement is something that is super duper important. And I'll see if I can link the legal page and some of the resources, because she had a webinar at the end of 2025 and I just found it mind-blowing. I think like since I attended, like I have access to the recording and all, but there are certain things, just like you have to plan for like estate planning for your own personal habits or your own personal life, like you have to do the same for your business. So especially if, God forbid, the ultimate happens and you pass away, like what happens to unraveling your business and having those things in place. So really, really important for that. So not just retirement, but what happens if, unfortunately, you're no longer here one day, which is going to be happening to all of us at some point. And then ensuring all of your critical business documents are backed up securely, whether that's like an external hard drive or you're using certain softwares for this. Just making sure to take a look because you don't want to lose out on important information, especially when it comes to your business. So let's move to the second tier, or the second pie piece of this maintenance, operational. So as it should be no surprise to you, systems and technology are number one here for me. Processes and SOPs, like how you operate. Team support, if you do have team support. I also include your suppliers and your partners in this section. And then client experience and how you're delivering on that promise that you've made to your clients. So when it comes to systems and technology, what am I going to say? I know you know what I'm going to say. You're going to review your tech stack for relevancy. So is the technology that you're currently using still the right kind of technology that you're using? Maybe you need to make a switch. Maybe you don't need to use a piece of technology anymore. Maybe you need a better piece of technology or a different type of technology. And I think of this like reviewing marketing technology, financial technology, and then of course your operational technology like CRMs and stuff. If everything is working really well for you, I would also encourage you to like start auditing things like your CRM or your itinerary builder for anything that you might have that's templated. So any templated emails, any forms, invoice items, library items, workflows, task lists, etc., just to make sure that they are accurate. Because again, in that foundational, I mentioned like reviewing business policies. Business policies do affect some of these business systems and the technology and some of these templated items. So if something's changed in a policy, you want to make sure that it's accurate in all of like your templated items within that CRM or itinerary builder. So I feel like doing an audit on a yearly basis for this is going to be really, really helpful for you. I would also be reviewing any potential opportunities for automation. Is there something that you've been doing that you're very aggravated by, because it seems like a very manual process, that maybe you can like start using Zapier and Zapson to automate, or maybe like you can invest in technology that has more integrations for you. Going on to your processes and SOPs, reviewing your current SOPs to make sure they are up to date. Now, if you don't have SOPs, your standard operating procedures, you might want to start getting on top of that. And I feel like my episode with Mary Beth Lynn back last fall is going to be a really great starting point. I also know I have an episode with Alicia Lozano. So hold on, let me see if I can get some episode numbers so that you can quickly find them. Episode 229 is with Mary Beth Lynn. And then episode 54 and 109 is with Alicia Lozano, who is an operations specialist. So those might be really great episodes to just look over if SOPs is not your forte, or you haven't started doing anything in the SOPs area and you need to start getting these processes documented. Because especially thinking about business continuity, if somebody is taking over for you, if they're out of office, they need to know how you do things, and that's what SOPs do. Similarly, if you are wanting to like sell your business at any point in the future, having SOPs makes your business more valuable. And then also, like, if, again, God forbid, you were to pass away and things weren't wrapped up in your business, this is also going to help whoever you've designated to be in charge of your business. They know what they should be doing to kind of wrap up all the loose ends. Organizing your SOPs, so whether that's like a project management tool or using Google Docs, making sure that they're just easy to read and then easy to find wherever you are housing them. And then I feel like it might also be a good time to do like an annual time audit. So reviewing how long certain tasks take you to complete. I feel like this is going to help you like in justification, especially when it comes to trip planning and professional fees and all that. If you're able to see like a certain trip takes you 10 hours all the time, if you're able to see like a certain trip maybe takes you more than that, it's going to help you justify like adding on team members, or maybe it's also going to help you justify like maybe you shouldn't be doing those trips anymore and you should be doing the trips that take you 5 hours to plan so that you have a little bit more time on your hands versus not. When it comes to team support, if you've got employees, making sure that you're reviewing the employee handbooks and policies, because again, those might be changing depending on just certain circumstances that have happened throughout the years. If you don't have employees, but you do have contractors, maybe taking a look at their contracts, making sure that everything that they're doing is listed out in there. Maybe you need to do a rate evaluation and increase their rate this year. Just making sure, again, that everything is accurate. Something else that I would keep in mind here is if you wanted to conduct any one-on-ones with any employees, possibly even contractors, if that falls in line, then you may want to take a look at that also. I'm not sure that it would fall in line necessarily with contractors, so more employees and just making sure that they're performing well. You may just want to give great feedback or constructive feedback to your contractors, though, if you're not able to do one-on-ones with them. I also feel like team building opportunities is going to be really important here, just evaluating those. And if you're not actively doing those, putting some sort of system in place so that you can do those, because I feel like that's just going to help with the overall morale of your team. The happier your team is, the better service and experience that your clients are receiving. So it's just a win-win overall. Moving on to like suppliers and partners. So suppliers, I designate like, your supplier partners. Is pretty easy to figure what that, whoever is like doing the experience of travel for your clients. Whereas partners, I see who are like potential collaboration and partnerships in that sense, even though like suppliers you might also see as partners, but I just wanted to differentiate those. So reviewing the list of your current suppliers that you work with and whether or not you still want to work with them or you're in alignment with them. I think that is so, so important, especially if you've been frustrated in your business. What is one of the sources of your frustration? It could be that you might be selling suppliers that aren't really serving you or aren't really helping you out in your journey. So why are you supporting them? You can change. You don't have to be working with those suppliers. I would also put in here checking in with BDMs if you haven't recently connected with them. BDMs are business development managers, I guess, but they are there to really help your business develop. They want you to have sales. They want to see you having like really great sales with their company, and they are there to help guide you in that. So if you're needing any sales resources, definitely reach out. Like if there's a certain supplier that you've been wanting to sell more of, reach out to that BDM and mention that to them so that you guys can get on a game plan for what you should be doing and how they can help you to achieve the sales. Research possibly any new supplier offerings, especially if you are FIT. I'm sure there's all sorts of new innovative things that are happening within many different local destinations. So what are some new experiences that you might not have heard of? If needed or possible, maybe you might have to negotiate contracts. I feel like a lot of this might be for the independent contractors, but then also for if you are an independent travel advisor. So if you're not hosted, if you're not franchised, and you do negotiations like with supplier partners and DMCs, it might be a really great time to start negotiating some of these contracts. And then also completing any annual training. We all know that there's certain suppliers that there are annual training that you need to get done in order to qualify for their benefits. And so I feel like the ones that come top of mind for me are like Marriott and like Disney theme parks, Walt Disney Parks and Resorts. So, and I think Universal also does that. I feel like maybe some cruise lines might do it also, where you might just have to complete annual training. So just sticking on top with that. When it comes to partnerships, just reviewing like who your potential partners and collaborations might be, researching any potential opportunities that you haven't like really taken a deep dive into, and then also reviewing like how have your recent partnerships gone? Do you feel like they went well? Did they not go well? Is there anything that you can do on your end to make sure that they go really well next time? I would also put in here client experience. So this is our kind of like last subtopic when it comes to operational. Reviewing any touch points during like the pre-trip, during trip, and post-trip process. I know it's a lot of things that are up for review, but I feel like if you're on top of it, and also like if you're on top of it, it just makes things a little bit easier. If you kind of have a checklist for this, which actually I think I do have a checklist, so I'll try and link this up. If you're like, Rita, you've told us a lot of stuff here. I know. There is a lot of stuff here to keep on track, and this is what makes a difference. Hopefully you can see that now between like an agency owner versus just a travel advisor. Reviewing client feedback and testimonials for any gaps and how you might be able to fill in any gaps. I feel like being able to conduct at any point within the year an annual focus group to get timely information is so, so important, especially if you're able to get feedback from lots of different clients that you have had, how you can improve the process. Is there somewhere where there's currently like a gap, like nobody can remember like where their transfer should be. Maybe you need to like improve that process, or is there a way that you can communicate that a little bit better? Only you are going to know like kind of where those gaps are. So being able to help and improve so that your client experience just gets better and better year over year. I would also consider doing some sort of annual appreciation event, because just like your employees or your team wants to be appreciated, your independent contractors, I know your clients are also going to want some sort of appreciation. It doesn't have to be like a super grand gesture or anything. I feel like even like the most modest of things, because I know a lot of people will either do big gatherings and rent out spaces or halls to do like an evening in. And other people will simply do things like the Starbucks gift cards, which I still think is still touching. Like anything is more touching than not doing anything, and recognizing people who have helped and really supported your business. Now, our final piece when it comes to maintenance that I feel when it comes to maintenance is that marketing, because there's a lot of things on marketing that do and should be reviewed on an annual basis. So the big 5 here for me are your digital presence, which also includes your website, your content and your communication, your analytics and your performance, your lead generation, that lead journey, and then also the positioning of your business. So when it comes to digital presence and website, making sure all of your digital bios are accurate. That's not just like a good thing to have just overall. It's going to be super, super duper important when it comes to artificial engine optimization, that AEO, making sure that you're not the luxury travel expert here and you're the group travel expert there. Google, plus also the search engines and the AIs, are not going to know the people to send over to you if you have like multiple bios in different places and you're trying to be all the things. They're not going to know that. So making sure that everything is cohesive. Really simple one. I know a lot of these other ones are a little bit more time consuming. This one should only take you maybe 5 minutes. Update the copyright on your website to the current year, because I'm sure there's got to be some of you that your website still says copyright 2025, and it should say like copyright 2025 to 2026, or whenever your website first came out. Just make sure that 2026 is somewhere on there. I would test your website's mobile friendliness and the page speed. You can do this like through a lighthouse test. You can also just do this through like a page speed test. I think you can just simply like Google to find out like all these different tests that you can run, but making sure, because this helps with accessibility, this helps, like page speed is so important, because if it takes forever for your page to download, people are not going to be checking out your website. And if people aren't checking out your website, that does create some sort of dent like within the search engines. Like if somebody goes to your website and then immediately reverts back, that is a ding on like your score or whatever the official title might be for like your SEO worthiness. Reviewing your copy, reviewing and updating any website copy. So again, kind of like if you were a luxury travel advisor and now you just want to focus on family travel, your website needs to reflect that. So making sure, like if you were talking about opulence and things, and now that's not really the direction you want to be going to, you're going to have to update the copy on your website. Also making sure that links are accurate and that photos are accurate, because that is a big jump too. Like there's luxury family, but there's luxury, and then there's like family mass market. Those are all like 3 different types of visuals that are needed. So kind of reviewing that. Also reviewing updates on your blog posts, maybe doing some SEO updates, because this also is good juju when it comes to like websites and searching. Like if you're frequently updating things on your website or in your blog posts, that's a good sign. Like I know artificial intelligence as well as search engines do not like things that have not been touched in a while. They like timely updates, and so that helps like boost your discoverability when it comes to online. Content and communication, reviewing all and updating any and all marketing materials. I say in this bucket, this includes like your lead magnets, your email automations, which include like your welcome sequences, any social media posts, or like even formats of social media posts, because maybe you've updated colors or fonts or things, any promotional material, so like flyers, slides, business cards, anything. You want to still make sure everything is cohesive to how you're operating your business in present day. And then, of course, reviewing what existing content you have that can be repurposed or refreshed. So you don't have to do like exact like reusing it, but what can we like reuse or repurpose in some way so that you're not starting content from the ground up, because nobody wants to be doing that. And I'm sure if you have blog posts out there, there are certain tweaks or certain things that are new to you that you can add to those pieces of content as well. Analytics and performance, because content doesn't really mean too much if you're not also evaluating how it's performing. So reviewing content analytics, and this means a wide variety of things. Like, I'm not just talking about social media followers, but what has been your engagement from social media? What has been your website traffic from social media? How many people have signed up on to your email list from social media? But aside from social media, also just looking at your conversion rates. Like, if you know that there's hundreds of people that are going on your inquiry form, but only like a handful are like filling out that form, is there anything that you can do on that landing page to like update the copy or update the visuals that would entice more people to fill out that inquiry form? Similarly, but different, also like monitoring like your email opens and the clicks that you have, monitoring also your website traffic and the clicks that you're seeing from there as well. There's analytics goes like super deep, and there's so much to like analyze. So you just kind of have to figure out like what might be the gap, like what is not doing what you need it to do, so that you know for the exact data points that you need to be checking. Your lead generation and your journey. So reviewing really what your sales funnel looks like. Is it working for you? Is it not working for you? Like, did you tweak something and now you're having like the most stellar year you've ever had? What was that tweak? Clearly you need to be doing more of whatever that tweak was. Maybe the exact opposite happened, which sucks. But it is something that does happen in business. You test something out, you do an experiment, and it doesn't go the way that you thought it was going to go. So you just reevaluate, pick yourself up for the next time. Reviewing how you're acquiring new leads. Is this working for you? Do you need to try something new? Reviewing also your calls to action, because same as what we were talking about with analytics, some calls to action might work for you versus not work for you. Some are more apt to like get people a little bit warmer faster or hotter faster versus not. And then I would also consider, I mean, we were mentioning like this referral type program or like a thank you program. So if you're not already doing that, considering implementing some sort of referral or affiliate program for any of your clients who might be doing this already for you within your business. And then last but not least, also reviewing your positioning. I feel like this is like a big area, because it's not enough for you to say that you're a family travel expert or a cruise expert. What makes you different in those realms? Like, there is a very unique viewpoint that you have, or a very unique type of person that you can help, that maybe there's other people that can also help, but there's something unique about how you see things or how you talk about things that is going to make you stand out amongst any other travel advisors who do similar stuff. And this all has to do with your positioning. So reviewing how that is going between any of the products and services that you're offering in your travel business, and making the updates that are necessary to like really get you to where you're wanting to be. Because like for me, I know that at some point I was the group cruise expert, and I'm like, nope, I'm going to narrow that down a little bit further. And now I am the retreat cruise expert. And so it's very, very specific, but I'm very comfortable like putting that line in the ground, and that's the stuff that I really want to be doing. Also reviewing your client avatars and updating any messaging as needed. Because again, every year I feel like we go through like some sort of evolutionary process. And so what do we want more of? What do we want less of? Does that still align? The people that you initially wanted to work with, does that still align? Because that if you talk to 2010 Rita versus 2026, that's very different. And so you have to update your avatars and your messaging based on those changes. So again, making sure that all of that is accurate. Again, I know that all of this has been like drinking from a fire hose. So I'm going to make sure to include that checklist so it's a little bit easier for you. Make sure that you're also on the wait list for my upcoming retreats. Definitely, I have everything pretty much figured out for a 2027 summer camp at sea. The June Orlando retreat is a little bit up in the air, and a lot of that has to do with my recent health stuff that has happened. I just have not had time to dedicate to it. So I'm not sure if it will be in June. It's also, time is passing very quickly. So I just don't feel like there's going to be time to commit to doing something at the last minute. So if I keep doing or planning for something in Orlando, it might be for later in the year. So just stay tuned. I will definitely keep you updated and posted. But thanks so much for being here, and I can't wait tomorrow, next week, I might play one of the podcast episodes for you that we recorded at TMP on the river. So stay tuned, because if it's not next week, it'll be coming up super duper soon. All right. Thanks for being here, everybody. Thanks for joining me on the podcast today. Remember to check out the show notes for all relevant links and resources from today's show. See you next time.